Welcome. This is a video for the game EVE Online. This is to benefit EVE University. This is a class on industry. Now, industry is an interesting one because it is probably one of the more volatile things that you can do in EVE. I consider it a high risk activity, which is kind of funny to say because I think when people think of EVE Online and Risk, they think of PvP, but industry can be extremely risky because of the fluctuations in the market. Um, EVE Online's markets fluctuate in such a way that is reflective of some interesting models of how markets work, and that means that you can spend time doing industry and end up actually spending more to do industry than you actually make. So we're going to talk about that a little more in a minute here, but I wanted to give that sort of as a heads up because industry is very cool, but it's also something I consider a relatively high risk activity that does not involve PvP. So today we're going to talk about what industry is. We're going to talk about a few different types of industry. We don't have a live classroom here, so if you have questions or things that you want to chime in on, go ahead and leave a comment on the video. If you leave a question, I will try to get to it as soon as possible. I can't promise to answer all of them, but I will do my best. Okay, so what is industry? Industry covers a wide variety of things, but namely it is manufacturing, material efficiency research, time efficiency research, blueprint copying, invention, and reactions. Now there's a bunch of finer points in these, but we'll get into them. What is not industry? That's going to be market trading, mining, reprocessing, and planetary. It says planetary production, but it's now called planetary industry. These are all related, even though they're not industry. They are related. And a lot of people who do industry do all of these things. They probably do some market trading, they probably do some mining, they do some reprocessing and planetary industry. In fact, one of the ways to reduce your cost of doing industry is to do these non-industry activities. So, manufacturing. It's relatively straightforward in concept. It gets much grittier once you actually do it. You get a blueprint. You take materials, which come in the form of minerals. You put them in a station or a structure that is equipped for industry, and out comes a module or ship or other item that the blueprint was for. You will also have the blueprint left over. You might have some excess minerals depending on whether you bought just the right amount of minerals or if you mined them yourself and then reprocess them and now have them just sitting in your hangar. Now manufacturing you can also use BPCs, blueprint copies. Similar process, just take the blueprint copy, put in your materials, out comes the product. Now, depending on how many runs of that blueprint copy you have, you may or may not have that blueprint copy at the end. Sometimes, if it's just, for example, a one run, oftentimes if you're doing low level industry, um, if you do like low level distribution missions, low level mining missions, you might get BPCs that are just one run. You can build it, but once you've built it, you get whatever it was you were trying to build, but then you don't get the BPC back because it's used up. So in this example, we have a Hobgoblin blueprint copy, and we've got some materials in a contract. Now, in a live classroom, we might actually go through this and do it as an example. Since this is just a recording, you can certainly give this a try if you'd like to, but there are, of course, many options for creating stuff. I think my very first thing that I made was station containers because they're really, really big to haul around, but they are very, very cheap to make. So this is one that you can assemble, and you have the blueprint copy in a station or structure equipped for industry. You can right click on Hobgoblin blueprint copy and use blueprint. It is going to bring up the industry window. Now, in any structure or station that has industry, that is equipped for industry, you can just click the industry tab and it'll bring up this same window, and you can do everything. You can get everything set up from this window if you want. That's usually how I do it, but it's all a matter of personal preference. Now, over on the left side, we have our materials. So in this case, we have some minerals, and at the bottom, we have a couple of different options here. So in this case, we are doing industry. So that little factory icon is what we have selected. We have our um, we have our job runs. So we have 5 runs of this blueprint copy, which means that when it comes out, when we have done all 5 runs, we're going to have 5 hobgoblins, but we're not going to have any blueprint copy left. It's going to disappear. We have an input material location. So this is where our minerals and our blueprint copy is stored. We also have the output location. It's the same as our input location, but I do want to caution folks from Eve University. We they we have a very generous blueprint library, and you can make copies of blueprints in from our blueprint copy library, and it is very important that you pay attention to where your output location is, because nobody likes it when your blueprint copy goes into the blueprint library and now you can't get it out. It's a bummer for everyone. couple of other things I want to point out here. Below the output location, you see a job duration. This is 10 minutes, 53 seconds. That's how long it's going to take to do all 5 Hobgoblin drones. It also has a job cost, so be aware that it is literally it's very much like putting something in the oven and waiting for it to finish heating up. Um, and there is a cost associated, and depending on what you're building, that cost will vary. Hobgoblin ones are not expensive to make, but as you get to more complicated, better things, it will start to cost more and more. When you're ready, you can hit start, and it will begin the process of making things. Um, you'll see a countdown there. And then in just under 11 minutes, you'll have 5 hobgoblins. Hooray. Now, let me show you. Let me go back and just show you real quick. Um, Over here by the image of the blueprint copy, you see this diamond and uh, this sand timepiece. I'm blanking on what it's called, but hourglass. That's what it's called. Hourglass. So we have the diamond and the hourglass, and the diamond says next to it, it says 10%. The hourglass says 20%. This is your material efficiency. This is your time efficiency. These are maxed at 10% and 20%. So essentially what we are trying to do with these efficiencies, right? A whole aspect of industry is material and time efficiency research. If we have a blueprint and we put in materials, it's going to take some time, right? But if we put in a blueprint and we've done the material efficiency research on that blueprint, it's going to require fewer materials. It'll still have the same amount of time as it did before. We can also take a blueprint and do time efficiency, which reduces the amount of time that it takes to actually make the thing. It does not affect the material. You can do both. You can research the material efficiency and the time efficiency. Just be aware that that requires time. All research requires time and money to do. So it is for sure worthwhile to do material efficiency. I think some people skip time efficiency because um, it's just that extra thing that they have to do. But it's also worth saying that in with certain BPOs, if you fully research a thing, both material and time efficiency, that is actually worth something, and you might be able to sell that. I don't want to get your hopes too high. Be aware that plenty of people and plenty of corporations have their own BPO libraries, and it may or may not be worth it to do all that effort and try to sell it because so many people already have their own libraries. But consider that even if you don't do a lot of manufacturing yourself, the research on these blueprints has value. All right. So I mentioned blueprints and I mentioned blueprint copies. One thing that you can do with blueprints that adds value is creating blueprint copies. Now, members of Eve University who are dipping their toes into industry, I highly recommend that you don't go out and try to buy a bunch of blueprints. Just use blueprint copies. Our blueprint library is quite extensive because our production department uses it. Um, you can take a blueprint, make a copy, and then you get the blueprint and you have the blueprint copy. Now, it's important to note that whatever amount of research in time efficiency and material efficiency that you've done is going to transfer over to the blueprint copy. So in my example here, I have a 6% material efficiency and a 4% time efficiency on this miner module, this mining laser module. I can use that blueprint to make as many mining lasers as I want, but I can also make a copy and I can select how many runs I want that blueprint copy to be for, and it will also have the 6% material efficiency and the 4% time efficiency. Okay. Now, in case you haven't noticed, there aren't really T2 blueprints. And those who know the deep lore, those who have been around a long time, will say to me, but there are T2 BPOs, and I say, shh, shh. Long time ago, there were T2 BPOs. They have since become a extremely rare commodity. They will almost never go on the market, so it's not even really worth talking about. If you come across a T2 BPO, don't ever undock with it in your ship because you will lose it. All right. So what is invention? Invention is taking a blueprint copy, then you're adding materials which come from, in this example here, data sites, right? So all of you who have dipped your toes into exploration, this is where all that stuff that you get goes into. You take specific items that can be acquired through data sites, and then you add a decryptor. Now the decryptor, depending on the 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 number of decryptors, how much you want to invest, that's going to increase the chance that you get a favorable T2 blueprint copy. It impacts your maximum number of runs. It impacts your material efficiency, your time efficiency, and it also affects the success probability. Because once you get into T2 manufacturing, there is a chance that you can go through the process of taking your BPC, adding the materials, letting it cook, and then it fails. So invention is kind of a neat thing because if you put the effort into making these T2B BPCs, you have something there, and you're going to want to make enough of this thing, because you don't want to make one and then it turns out that the success probability is very low and then you don't even get the T2 variant that you were hoping for. Um, so be aware of that. Your decryptor is what impacts your all these different variables, the max runs, the material efficiency, the time efficiency, and the success probability. Um, you can check what that is. As you see in my example here, this screenshot for the mining laser. Uh, Here we have a success probability of 34%. It shows us our skills, it shows us the materials we need. All right. Okay. So let's talk about reactions. I'm going to give a shout out to wormholers. In this example, we're mostly looking at uh, reactions done from things other than gas. But all of you wormholers who are huffing gas, or even just you folks who like to wormhole dive for gas because you know it's valuable, and it's very new player friendly. I want to let you know that reactions are a good way to increase the value of your gas. Gas takes up a lot of space in your ship. Yeah, you can get a miasmos and fill it up, but if you react your gas, suddenly it shrinks down, and now you don't have to have as much space, and it's more valuable. So, what reactions are? Reactions are very similar to manufacturing in that you will have a blueprint. You input your materials, then you get the material and the blueprint back. Hooray! Now, a couple of things to be aware of. Unlike manufacturing, reactions have no research going into them. You can't research material efficiency. You can't research time efficiency. It is what it is. Reactions also require fuel. And what kind of fuel you need depends on what you're reacting. It depends on what you're trying to make, and the blueprint will tell you what you need. You also cannot do reactions in high security space. Now, members of Eve University, nullsec community has the facilities for reactions. So definitely consider using using that um, as a resource for making even more money out of your gas. So here's a sort of detailed look by way of flowchart. Um, and the differences between reacting gas and reacting ores is not super different, right? Because you're taking the raw ore, you reprocess, you get your minerals, um, then you go through this process of reacting, and the further you react, the more you get closer to you get your unrefined alloy. If you reprocess that, you'll get your alloys. Then you will get your composite materials. All of this stuff goes into building T2 materials. Now with wormhole gas, right? Because this is where I do most of my reacting. It's in gas, right? With wormhole gas, you are you are reacting it down to make materials that go into things like your strategic cruisers, your T3Cs. That makes them quite valuable. So please don't underestimate the value of reacting your gas. All right, skills to train. Okay, so for um, all of you who are interested in reacting gas, reactions, train up mass reactions. You don't have to get mass reactions to 5, that's a lot. But the more of reactions and mass reactions that you train, the more the more slots you have, which means you can react more gas at the same more you can do more jobs of reaction jobs to have more as you huff more and more gas, you're going to accumulate a bunch, and then you're going to want to run jobs. And depending on how you want to go about it, you might want to do one really big job, or you might want to break it up into smaller jobs, depending on what you're doing with it. Me, I don't care about waiting a week or two for a large job to finish. I'm totally happy with, even a month-long job because I'm just gonna sell it at the end of the day. Um, but if you are trying to make stuff, maybe it makes more sense to break it up into smaller jobs. You're gonna want those slots. You're going to want as many reaction slots as you can, especially when you get more varied types of gas. You're going to be able to do different types of reactions, and um, you're going to want to be able to do them all at once rather than having to wait for one job to finish and then doing another. So if you're a wormhole diver and you're looking at doing some reactions, if you're a member of WHC and you're looking at doing some reactions for the gas that you've been huffing, definitely consider training up reactions and mass reactions. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself because I'm so passionate about reacting to make more money. It's such an easy thing to do. I hate for people to leave money on the table, and I know that Eve Uni people are always looking for other ways to make money. This is a way to make your hard work pay you more. Okay? But returning to the issue of manufacturing and all the skills that go into it, we have mass production and advanced mass production. So similar to reactions and mass reactions, this is the one that gives you more manufacturing slots. So if you're building stuff, you need to train up mass production and advanced mass production if you want to build more than one thing at a time. Uh, Supply chain management allows you to be able to make stuff remotely. So maybe you are camped in one station, you're docked up in one station and you do all of your manufacturing remotely. Okay. In order to do that, you need to have supply chain management trained up. And of course, we have industry and advanced industry. This increases the speed of your manufacturing jobs. If you are training into if you have like an Orca alt or a Porpoise alt, you've probably already trained industry to 5. But it may be worth it if you're doing a lot of manufacturing to consider training up that advanced industry skill so that you can get that manufacturing done quickly. And if you want to do invention, these skills in the middle here are the skills that you want to train. Laboratory operation and advanced laboratory operation. These give you slots, same as mass production and advanced mass production, reactions and mass reactions, right? This is just more lab slots so you can do more invention simultaneously. You have scientific networking, which allows you to do your science remotely. Um, Science will speed up your copy speed. Metallurgy speeds up your material efficiency. Research jobs. Research increases your time efficiency, research speed, and then you also have a bunch of different specific science skills that you can train to uh, get higher chances of success on your invention jobs. So if you are curious about what that looks like, next time you're looking at your skill queue, take a look over in the skill catalog and just go over to the science category. Take a look at all those jobs, not jobs, take a look at those skills and look at what each of those skills get, what those skills go into. Take a look and read some of those. Our wiki has some comprehensive information on this as well. It'll tell you about which skills do what. So give our wiki a look. And as I said, when it comes to reactions, you have reactions and mass reactions, which give you more slots. Remote reactions allows you to remotely react your materials and be able to do those jobs remotely. So it is possible to get a setup where you don't actually have to do your stuff in the station that has the setup for these things. You may be able to stay docked up in one station where you want to be and do all this stuff remotely, but do be aware you got to train up those skills in order to do it. All right. Now, if we were doing this as a live class around this time, uh, the hobgoblins would be finished cooking, and then the most exciting, wonderful moment comes where we hit deliver, and out comes our wonderful hobgoblin ones, made by our very own effort as we learn about industry. Ta-da! So like I said, if there are questions, please leave me a comment to this video and I'll try to answer them as quickly and as thoroughly as possible to give you the best information that I have. Um, I may not be able to get out to all of them, but I will certainly do my best to answer as many as I can. Thank you for joining me. I hope this helped, and be on the lookout for more videos. If you enjoy this kind of content, give this video a like. Maybe check out some of my other videos. I am working my way through all the classes in the eUni core curriculum, as well as some other classes that I like teaching. Um, Also consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you can get notifications when the next video comes out. But until then, I wish you all the best and fly dangerously, my friends.